Hi guys, I'm Martinez from BSM-D2C, explaining the Marpol Annex 4 and 5 and 6. Prevention pollutions by sewage from ships entered into force 27 September 2003. Contains requirements to control pollution by the sewage. Discharge of sewage into the sea is prohibited, except when the ship has in operation an approved sewage treatment plant or when the ship is discharging commuted and disinfected sewage using an approved system at a distance of more than 3 nautical miles from the nearest land. Sewage which not commuted or disinfected has to be discharged at a distance of more than 12 nautical miles from the nearest land. Annex 4 contains a set of regulations regarding the discharge of sewage into the sea from ships, including regulations regarding the ship's equipment and system for the control of sewage discharge, the provisions of port reception facilities for sewage, and requirements for survey and certification. It is generally considered that on the high seas, the oceans are capable to assimilating and dealing with raw sewage through natural bacterial action. Therefore, the regulations in Annex 4 of Marpol prohibit the discharge of sewage into the sea within a specified distance from the nearest land, unless otherwise provided. Governments are required to ensure the provision of adequate reception facilities and ports terminals for the reception of sewage without causing delay to ships. The revised Annex applies to ships engaged in international voyage of 400 gross tonnage and above, or which the certified carry more than 15 persons. The Annex requires ships to be equipped with either an approved sewage treatment plant or an approved sewage communicating disinfecting system or sewage holding tank. The discharge of sewage into the sea is prohibited, except when the ship has aspiration approved sewage treatment plant or when the ship is discharging commuted and disinfected sewage using an approved system at a distance of more than 3 nautical miles from the nearest land. Sewage which is not commuted disinfected may be discharged at a distance of more than 12 nautical miles from the nearest land when the ship is en route and proceeding at less than 4 knots, and the rate of discharge of untreated sewage shall be approved by the administration. Marpol Annex 5. Marpol Annex 5 aims to stop and limit the quantity of trash that ships dump into the ocean. Unless otherwise specified, Annex 5 applies to all ships, which includes all ships of any kind operating in the marine environment, including merchant ships, fixed or floating platforms, and non-commercial ships like yachts and treasure watercraft. The most significant aspect of the Annex is the outright provision placed on the disposal of any type of plastic into the sea. It deals with various types of garbage and specifies the distance from land and methods in which they be disposed of according to Marpol 5. Annex 5. Garbage is defined as any type of food, household waste, all plastics, cargoes, residues, incinerator, ashes, cooking, oil, fishing gear, and animal carcasses that are produced during our routine ship operations and the need to be disposed of continually or occasionally. Fresh fish, parts thereof produced as a consequence, fishing activities carried out during the journey or as a result of aquaculture activities are not considered garbage. Annex 6. Annex 6 Prevention of Air Pollution from Ships entered into force 19 May 2005. Sets limits on sulfur oxide and nitrogen oxide emissions from ships, exhaust and prohibits deliberate emissions of ozone-depleting substances. Signed emissions control areas set more stringent standards for XOX and NOx and particulate matter. A chapter adopted in 2011 covers mandatory technical and operational energy efficiency measures aimed at reducing greenhouse gas emissions from ships. Marpol Annex 6, first adopted in 1997, limits the main air pollutants contained in ships' exhaust gas, including sulfur oxides and nitrous oxides, and prohibits deliberate emission of ozone-depleting substances. ODS Marpol Annexes also regulates shipboard incineration and the emissions of volatile organic compounds from tankers. The main change to Marpol Annexes are the progressive reduction globally in emissions of SOx and OX and particulate matter and the introduction of emission controls areas ECAS to reduce emissions of those air pollutants further in designated sea areas under revised Marpol Annexes. The global sulfur limit will be reduced from current 3.50 to 0.50 effective from January 1, 2020, subject to feasibility review to completed to later than 2018. MEPC 20 October 2016 considered an assessment of fuel oil availability to inform the decision to be taken the parties Marpol Annex 6. Decided the fuel oil standard 3.50% sulfur limit shall become effective on January 1, 2020. Revisions to the regulations of ozone-depleting substances, volatile organic compounds, shipboards, incineration, reception facilities, and fuel oil quality were also made with regulation and fuel oil availability added. The revised measures are expected to have a significant beneficial impact on the atmospheric environment and human health, particularly for those people living in port cities and coastal communities.